There we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Who knows? Sound is working. Who knows? Sound is working. Got some more light in here. Sound is working. Got some more light in here. Sound seems to be working. It's easy to get started, but it's difficult to keep going. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today as we talk about health, fitness, and longevity on the podcast. Thanks for dropping by, friends. I hope you're doing well, and I appreciate you making the time to listen to me either live or later when it's available to talk about health, fitness, and longevity, because what an interesting topic that is, right? And since it's Saturday, we're going to talk about motivation. But before we do any of that, those of you who are watching right now, my name is Toby. I am 41 years old, and I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. While I do that, I live stream my routines and workouts, and I also talk about health, fitness, longevity, being a father, being a man in the world, having a career, doing fun stuff, and overall just balancing out life and living with all of the demands, responsibilities, and commitments that we have in life and living. On Mondays, we talk about sleep. On Tuesdays, we talk about food. On Wednesdays, we talk about movement. On Thursdays, we talk about connection, contribution. On Friday, we talk about hobbies and masteries. And on Saturday, we talk about motivation. We talk about how we can stay motivated and get motivated to keep doing things that are generally good for our health, fitness, and longevity, or how we change our lifestyle for the better. Because in the end, you're making health choices all day long, whether you are conscious of them or not. And I think one of the best and biggest ideas in health and fitness is to develop unconsciously all of these little habits, or very consciously all of these little habits that improve health and fitness, like taking the stairs, drinking water and skipping sugary drinks, finding out ways to move 30 to 60 minutes throughout the day, every day, incorporating a strength training routine, eating whole foods, lots of greens, lots of vegetables, lots of fibers, making sure that we eat within our energy balance, so the foods we choose keep us full and satiated, and also give us that sense of fullness long after the meal is done, so that we accumulate and stack all of these little habits over time to actually become unconscious habits and just a part of our daily routine. And when we can reach that level, that's, I think, where we will start to see our health improve without us actually having to put a lot of conscious effort into it. The hard thing about that is that there's a lot that we need to unlearn and relearn, especially if we get to this later in life and realize that we have a lot of unhealthy or habits that, when they compound, lead to unfavorable health outcomes. Things that we believe, things that we've learned, things that we've been taught, or things that we have been told or marketed to by companies to sell us products and choices and lifestyles that are not going to keep us healthy and fit for as long as we want to, but that are going to make other people very wealthy and rich because we end up buying their products. So those are some of the things that we talk about in this podcast. If I haven't scared you off, then you can go over to my channel and hit subscribe, and we can continue this conversation today and on any other day where I'm streaming. to talk about health, fitness, longevity, or when you join me for one of my workouts in the morning. All right. Today's training was mobility, actually. And it is nice to get back to it. I've obviously not been doing a lot for the last week because for some reason my foot swelled up last week, Saturday to Sunday, and I went for a walk on Sunday, and it started hurting and it got even worse, and that led me to the emergency room where they took to the hospital where they took a picture. And luckily nothing was broken, but it still needs to rest and recover. So it was the first day that I actually did some physical activity in a positive sense, and I'm actually very happy with it. It's just a simple mobility routine, but it's nice to move the body and feel where everything's going, and obviously I need to work on the mobility in my shoulder, which I think, let's put it to the test, is actually doing quite all right. Yeah, that end range of motion seems to be improving. It's a bit easier to get there on the other side, but this arm a couple of weeks ago would actually get stuck there. So seeing that range of motion improve is amazing. Good at Life 54 said hi, thanks for dropping by, and I hope you're doing well where you're at in the world, and I appreciate you dropping by and saying hello. And for the other person in the chat, thanks for saying hi from India. I would appreciate it if you retract that message because of the slur in it, and otherwise I will have to do that, but you're welcome to hang out in the chat, and like I say, please be kind and respectful in chat, and thanks for being here, and I hope you're doing well where you're at in the world as well. So that was today's training. Let's talk about motivation. Let's talk about how we are going to keep going, and how we actually find things or find ways to do things that we enjoy and that we would like to keep going with. Let's see. Because I think motivation is one of the bigger challenges that we face. Everyone at a certain level, right? When you start to get faced with health problems, or when summer comes around and it becomes a topic on TV, or in the magazines, or on streams, or if you follow certain creators and YouTubers, you will see that there is some base level of understanding of, oh yeah, food's important, oh yeah, sleep's important, oh yeah, movement and exercise is important. And we might get started for a week or two because we can do a lot of things based on willpower for maybe 1 week, up to 4 weeks even. But there comes a point where willpower or life and the demands, commitments, and responsibilities that we have in life catch up with us. And what do we do then? Well, what we do then is we stop, right? Because what we're doing isn't showing the magical results. We still don't look like the guy on YouTube or Instagram or in the magazine or on TV who's telling us that, you know, if we just eat a lot less, we're going to be slim off and healthy in 3 weeks, or a 7-day program to explode muscles onto your body, stuff like that. We realize that that's not the way it works, but we don't have an alternative story that we can buy into that is going to guide us through what it's actually going to take to get fit and healthy. And by the way, I'm talking about fit and health for longevity, right? So we are talking about getting fit and healthy physically, both what we can see and what we can't see, even more so what we can't see, so that we put off or defer or even turn around, right, the unhealthy markers, health markers, right? The unhealthy scores on health markers that are going to tell us what our risk is of all-cause mortality or premature death, because we are starting to clog our arteries, or because our cardiorespiratory ability is declining, or because we're losing strength, because we're becoming frail, we're losing our range of motion, or we're not eating the right kinds of foods to supply us with the right vitamins and minerals to keep our body functioning. We don't have enough fat in our body or fat intake to keep our hormone levels healthy. Whatever that is what we're working on. What we're not working on this channel is growing big muscles to show off at the beach in summer, or running for 4 or 5 hours straight to win prizes in marathons. Those are completely different health, fitness, or fitness and training goals, okay? This is about doing the things consistently over time that are going to keep us healthy and fit for living. And we're going to probably get to 80 or 90. And I would like to get to 80 or 90 in a way that I can still do things, live an active, adventurous, and self-sufficient life, because I've taken care of my body and my mind throughout my life. So that's why we're doing these things, and that's why motivation is such an important topic, because, you know, there are a lot of different pathways to follow in motivation. But one thing to understand about health and fitness is that consistency always wins. The person who shows up every day for 15 minutes for 25 years, right, is going to be better off than the person who shows up for 4 weeks every half year, yeah, then does nothing for 5 months, then gets back on it for 4 weeks again, does nothing again, on and on and on. Because it's the consistency of the activity that will actually pay off in the long run. Doing a little bit every day is going to be more effective over the course of a lifetime, because you accumulate so much more volume of what it is that you're doing. And consistency and motivation go hand in hand, but motivation is only one aspect of it, right? When we look at how can we become consistent and how can we stay motivated to learn things, well, we want to look at doing things that we enjoy. We want to understand why we actually want to make these changes, like what are our short and long-term goals? Why do we find this important? Do we really care about it? And in what we care about, well, what are things that we want to do? What are things that are no-goes for us? For example, I will not give up my Oreos. It's one of the last bastions where food companies have a foothold in my life is sleeves of cookies and crisps. Almost got them out of my life, okay? But it's been a journey of 10 years. It's becoming less and less and less. The more I know about the detrimental impacts of certain foods, the less inclined I am to eat them. But sometimes, you know, when I'm in the right mood, or when I'm tired enough or stressed out enough, there they are and there they go. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as it is like once a month and not every other day. Okay? So the consistency of eating better foods that are wholesome, that are nutritious, that get me closer to my goals and that keep me on my goals, that's the goal. That's where we want to take this. And that is hard to do, okay? So motivation, different aspects. It's also not something that I can give you. I can't give you motivation. I can't motivate you. You can motivate yourself by finding a goal and finding out why it's important. But we also need systems. We also need routines. We also need habits, right? So, for example, a system is, well, what am I using to get food into the house? You know, is that me going to the grocery store, me going to the market, or me ordering online and having stuff delivered, whether that's groceries or foods, right? What's the system we're using there? What are the habits? What do I habitually put in my grocery basket? Do I make a point out of filling that grocery basket with more than 50% of fresh vegetables and produce, and then adding to that some other things, or maybe even going up to 75? What do I habitually put in my, do I habitually put beans and legumes into my vegetable basket as a supplement to other foods? Am I continuously taking the leaner cuts of chicken, or am I taking the chicken with the skin, or the pork cuts, or the fatty beef cuts? And what is it going to do? Am I cooking with olive oil habitually, and do I put that in my basket, or do I cook with butter or beef tallow or whatever? All right, what choices am I making habitually, and how will the accumulation of those choices over, let's say, 3 decades, so we're going to say 11,000 days, what will the health outcomes be of those accumulated habits, right, as they stack over time? Because if you look back at the last 10,000 days, this is where you've come to. If you look ahead at the next 10,000 days, if you keep doing the same things, you're going to get more of the same. If you want to do something different, those are the things we need to look at. What are my routines? What does my day routine look like? What is my bedtime? What's my wake time? What do I do when I wake up? What am I going to do throughout the day? What do I do first thing when I get to the office? I walk up the stairs, 10 flights of stairs, right? 14 at the moment, okay? Not 21 anymore because we're moving floors. Thank goodness, no. I'll do the extra 7, go back down, do the extra 7. So what are my daily routines? What do I put in my coffee? Do I drink it black? Do I drink it with milk? Do I drink it with whole milk, skim milk? Do I put a plant-based drink into this instead of milk? What are routines that I've developed around food? Do I have the routine of eating once, twice, 3 times a day? Do I have the routine of eating 3 big meals, or 5 smaller meals, or 2 big meals and 1 snack? Those are all things that we can develop that maybe are started by motivation, right, by an insight, but need to just become habits and routines and a part of the way we organize our life, because we have systems, we have routines, we have habits. What we want to understand is, are those the habits that are going to get us to the goals that we want to set ourselves for our health and fitness and longevity? And that's hard. It's not easy. Nobody said it was easy. It's relatively simple, right? Sleep 8 hours a night. It's not very difficult to understand that concept. We can all count to 8. We can all look at 8 a.m. as a wake-up time and say, well, then I need to be asleep by midnight, so I need to be in bed by 11:30, right? That gives me a window of 8 hours to sleep. Eat whole foods. It's not very difficult. It's very simple, right? Anything that comes off the land, that is colorful, that is fresh, natural, that is predominantly what we want to have in our diet because of the nutrition profile that it offers. We want to balance that with an understanding of macronutrients, proteins, fats, carbohydrates. Make sure we have a good distribution on our plate, but we also want to have more fibers. We want to have more colors on our plate, because it gives us a hint at the variation in nutrition profile that we can consume. And that is going to help us tremendously, right? But doing that consistently picking the salad over other foods that have been engineered to be tastier, more flavorful, easier to consume, more hyper palatable, right? That is hard. Do you think I enjoy chopping the salad for 15 minutes every day at lunchtime when I'm at home? Or skipping some of the tasty looking foods? And when I'm tired, I notice that I still opt for some of the less healthy options. But I'm getting better at that as well. Like, it's becoming more of a habit to just pick the healthier things by default. No, that's hard. It's the behavior around it that's hard. We understand we need to move and exercise more. But what's really hard is to take an honest look at our lives and say, all right, if I'm going to get 2.5 hours of movement in a day, I need to stop scrolling. I need to stop watching series. I need to find ways to combine my social life with my activity. How am I going to do that? What is that going to require? What's it going to require from me, from other people in my life? How much is realistic? Is 2.5 hours a day realistic? Or is that realistic 2 to 3 times a week? And then the other days, a bit less. Can I only get 30 minutes in? Okay, we're still winning, right? But we need to move more. We all understand why strength training can help us build muscle and bone density, why cardiorespiratory training, cardiovascular training, cardio training is going to help us keep our heart and veins and brain healthy, and also fight visceral fat, right? That's easy to understand, the facts, but it's the habits and behaviors that we want to develop around that that just become commonplace, that are important, okay? Connecting and being with friends, how important is that? But what choices do we make when we're there? What are we eating? What are we drinking? Because a lot of food choices, food, alcohol, smoking, social. There's a social influence there. So it's easy to understand that we shouldn't smoke and should drink less. But when the social environment is conducive to those kinds of behaviors, what does that mean for the habits and routines and the saying no and the status and the social connection that we have with other people? How do we deal with that? That's hard, right? Those are the difficult things, okay? Finding things we enjoy doing, understanding our commitments, responsibilities, and demands of life, and understanding what small changes we can accommodate in terms of health and fitness, and what small changes we don't want to accommodate for our health and fitness, right? That's important, okay? It's important to be realistic about what we can do today, and also understand and balance that with the idea that maybe more is possible in 1 year, but we need to take baby steps in that direction. We don't need big changes. Sometimes a big change can be a good thing. Sometimes small changes that stick are better. Remember what I said about 15 minutes a day for 30 years, right? That is going to have such a profound impact. Even if it is just the habit of having a glass of water before breakfast and a piece of fruit before lunch or dinner, right? Like 20 minutes before. Because the impact of that on your satiety and the volume that you eat are going to be noticeable 1 year down the line, right? Because you cut off that, 100, 200 calories of every meal without even noticing it, if you're smart about what you're eating. And you're going to start noticing that you're doing better. But you don't know why, because you're not going to the gym and you're not on a diet. That's because you've made a structural change to your lifestyle. Do sports that we enjoy. Eat foods that we enjoy. Drink drinks that we enjoy. Since we're on this topic of coffee, since I drink black coffees and I now do these filter things, there are a lot of different flavors to discover in coffee. That's great. So that's something to just invest time and energy in. And there's no harm in that. And it actually shows you what variety you can have in life. But doing things that we enjoy and starting with things that we think we can manage, rather than doing the things other people are telling us we have to do, okay? You could start very easily with that 5-minute extra walk on the commute by going around the block 1 extra time before heading off to the bus stop or the train station, and trying to fit that into your schedule on the way there or on the way back. Okay? Those kinds of things. And making that a structural thing. Making that 5-minute walk every day, extra 5 minutes, a structural thing, because that's 5 more minutes of movement every day. It's not a lot, but pretty sure that 5 minutes will turn into 30 minutes over time, okay, if we enjoy it. That's all I have for you today on motivation, friends. There's no small change to discuss. We've discussed a lot of different things over the week. We'll reflect a bit on that tomorrow morning, hopefully. So just, think this over and don't be too hard on yourself. Motivation is simple but not easy. But I said it's not about motivation alone. It's about systems, routines, and habits, and understanding what the systems, routines, and habits are that already exist in your life, because believe me, they do. And then seeing where you can tweak and change them to get the outcomes you want to have. And we talked about the example of our grocery list and the way we do grocery shopping and what we need to change there. Companies, online grocery stores know that around 90% of what people put in their basket is habitually the same. Okay? They know this and make money of it. You now know this and can turn that on its head and say, well, if that 90% is habitual, what are the habits that I want to have? What am I going to habitually put into that basket more consciously until it is a habit to have 90% of those groceries be super wholesome and healthy for my health, fitness, and longevity. We're good just the way we are, friends. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today. It's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness is going to go a long way, all right? There are enough people out there who want to put us down, so we lift ourselves up. And the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So I will see you tomorrow. Remember to go to my channel, hit like, subscribe, watch a video, help me get to 3,000 hours of watch time. And if you enjoyed this, share it with a friend, and be back for another talk tomorrow or any other day of the week. Have a good Friday night or Saturday, friend. And remember, subscribe.